Hello everyone, this is Streamline from DVS Gaming. Today we're going to go over build guides in World of Warcraft, starting with the Warrior class. For those of you that have never played before and are just starting to get into the game, the classes and races should go with your playstyle and what you are looking to do in the game. For instance, if you're looking to play a tank, and you want to get into that role, being the person to take all the damage and protect the group, you want to look at which classes fill the role of tank. So as you can see, Warrior, you can play a tank or a melee DPS. There are 5 roles that you can play in the game. You can play a tank, you can play a melee DPS, a ranged DPS, a tank healer, or a raid healer. Later videos will cover each of those roles to go along with each of the classes that are in the game. So, we're going to start with the role of the tank as a warrior. The race that you choose can have an effect on the performance in that role. If you're worried about maxing out your damage, your aggro, and things like that. So you want to pay attention to the racial bonuses when selecting the character. And in order to determine which one is better for you, there is an option, more info, on the bottom left corner of the screen. You want to go warrior. Tells you that it's a tank or melee damage, defend yourself and others with heavy armor and shields, charge quickly around the battlefield, unleash your rage to deliver devastating attacks. So it shows you 3 sample abilities and what they do. It tells you that they're plate wearing fighters, and in Warcraft, plate is the heaviest armor that they have. Now, if you want to play a human warrior, your haste, crit strike, mastery, and versatility will all be increased. And this is good because you can hit faster, which will help you keep your aggro up. Your crit strike allow your hits to hit harder when they crit, which will increase your aggro. Mastery will help with your major abilities, and versatility will help with both your damage and your heal stuff. Each of the stats vary depending on the class that you're trying to play. So because we're trying to play a warrior tank who can take damage and stay alive, you want your health higher as well as the ability to hit hard. So you can go with a human because of the stat bonuses. A dwarf may take on stone form, which is good because that means you can take on more damage as well, and the increased effect from crit strikes will help. So a dwarf could be a viable option as a warrior. As a warrior tank. Night elf, Fade and Shadows, that sounds more like a rogue, so you wouldn't want something like that because it won't benefit you if you're worried about the benefits from the race. The gnome could be a tank because of escaping speed altering effects, but the taking on of the stone form or having the multiple stats is more beneficial towards the goal of the tank. Now if you go Jernai, can heal self or others over time. That's a good thing to have because keeping yourself healed makes it easier for the healer to keep you alive. Increased agility, intellect, and strength. The increase in strength will help you as a warrior as well. So the Jernai could be a good choice as a tank. Worgens, your crit chance is increased, but that's about the only beneficial bonus that I see for a tank. Being able to move quickly, That would be good for Rogue because that'll allow you to get behind the enemy faster and be able to get that bonus from hitting from behind. Pandaren, you could tank with them. I mean, there's no really like stat bonus from them, but like the ability to put a target asleep with the touch of the hand could be good because you can make the target sleep for a couple seconds while you get a couple shots in on them. Other than that, they're definitely good for heals and DPS. If you want to go Horde side, Orcs may be good because you can rage and increase your damage, which would increase your threat. Damage done by pets, that would tell you they would probably do better as a hunter or a warlock because those two classes have pets. Undead, as far as to go back to the orcs, the Enhancement Shaman is also a good option for them because the Enhancement Shaman does also have pets, even though they're only out for a few seconds. Undead can remove Fear, Sleep, and Charm. That's good for a tank because that'll allow them to get back to fighting and holding their aggro. Taurens are good for tanks because of their Stomp ability. They have increased stamina, which allows them to survive longer. So with those two, and then the increased effect from critical strikes are also beneficial. So for the Horde side, your Tauren is probably your most viable, but looking at the other ones, a Troll, Berserk, increase attack and cast speed. Increasing your attacks allows you to put out more damage, which in turn raises your aggro. It allows you to hold the target on you longer to keep the rest of the party alive long enough to kill the target. Blood Elf would be more of a DPS CC crowd control type character. And the ability to restore mana or energy makes them good for a caster class. So the priest, paladin, mage, warlock, monk, druid, and shaman. So that would fit any one of those classes really. Goblin, I would see them more as DPS because their haste increase, which allows them to hit faster and all that. They can't really take too much damage from the bonuses that you can see here. When you first create your character, you have to level them up to level 10 in order to unlock the specialization and talent trees. And those are what really unlock the rest of the build of your character. So starting with your race, setting up your base stats and your base starting point gets you ready for when you're ready to open up the talent tree and build the rest of your character. So what we're going to do is go to a character that has the talent tree unlocked so we can go over the talent points and which ones are more beneficial for the purpose of playing a warrior tank. Okay, and here we have the level 10 warrior that I've already leveled up to show the specialization and talent trees. So once you hit level 10, you get to choose one of your specializations, and they now have it where you can switch between specializations at any time. So if you decide you don't like the protection tank as a warrior, you can choose to go over to the DPS side. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to go over the protection tank. So once you select protection, it opens up the ability to shield slam and devastate. Now, shield slam is important because you will benefit more from using a shield because it will increase your armor, which in turn increases your survivability. Now, in order to get the talents opened up, we have to hit level 15. One thing to remember when creating these characters and playing them is everyone has their own playstyle, so what works for one person will not work for another person, as I have discovered when playing various characters throughout my Warcraft experience. When it comes time to choosing professions as well, those can have an effect on your class performance when you go into dungeons and raids, if that's your intent. The builds I'm going to be showing here, once I hit high enough level to show them, are going to be builds that can help you raid and simply just run around the territories doing quests. So level 1 through 10 is so you can get familiar with your character, and as you level, it will unlock different abilities the higher the level, so that way you can get used to your new ability before they add on another one. This way it slowly introduces you to the full potential of your character. We can take a look at the talent points, and our first choice here is between Shockwave, Stormbolt, and Warbringer. Warbringer allows you to do damage to all enemies within 53 yards of your primary target and stun them, which is a decent crowd control ability. Stormbolt, which hurls your weapon at enemy, causing 61 physical damage and stunning them for 4 seconds. This would be a good way to get a quick aggro. Shockwave sends a wave of force and a frontal cone. Now this one's really good as a tank because your idea for a tank is to keep all your targets in front of you and with their backs turned towards the party. This way you can keep an eye on the healer and the DPS can hit the NPCs without them looking at them. And since we're going for tank and survivability and keeping aggro, Shockwave in this case would be your better choice of the three. So I'd recommend Shockwave, but as I've said before, everyone has their own personal preference, so if you're into the whole hurling your weapon and doing that instant damage right there, Stormbolt would be a good idea. Or if you're a warrior tank that would charge in to the fight, Warbringer would be a better choice, but out of all of them, me personally, I would go with Shockwave. Blizzard has put in one feature that allows you to test out the characters to see what the character has that you like about it, and it lets you test it at level 100. So if you want to see what each of these abilities does, to see which one you prefer, that is a good way to test them. Now, when you also look at your character for the build, you want to pay attention to the stats that you're gaining on the gear. So, for instance, as a tank, you want to worry about your strength, stamina, armor. Of course, they tell you these are your 3 primary attributes. Enhancements to this, you have crit strike, haste, versatility, dodge, parry, and block. For tanking purposes, your dodge, parry, and block are your 3 enhancements you want to mainly go for, because these will allow you to prevent damage being caused to you, which is going to irritate the NPC and make them want to hit you, try to hit you even more. And that will help up your aggro as well. After those three, then you want to worry about your haste, versatility, and crit strike. Versatility is a good one because it doesn't just increase your damage, but it increases your healing and decreases your damage taken, so that allows you to survive that much longer. So dodge, parry, block, and then versatility would be your fourth priority in this instance. Now when you get to the higher levels, like when you get to level 30, you'd want to choose something that's going to help with taking damage and protecting the party. Impending victory would be a good one because not only does it increase your damage, but it does also increase the healing that you receive, which in turn keeps you alive longer. So for survivability tanks, impending victory would be a good choice. For tanks that want to help heal the party and keep them alive longer, inspiring presence would be a decent choice. If you're one of the tanks that needs to rush to a target to pull the aggro back, safeguard would be a good one because it allows you to intercept the target so it doesn't keep hitting your party. So me personally, I'd go with impending victory because it keeps you alive longer to keep the aggro, so you don't have to worry about rushing off to regain it. When you hit level 45, ignore pain is good if you want to increase your damage done. But as a tank, you're not worried about doing damage, you're worried about holding the aggro, because you holding the aggro will allow your DPS to do more damage, and that's less damage you have to worry about doing. Ultimatum is a good one for the tanks that carry the shields, because Shield Slam is a good ability to use to keep aggro, because it's that burst damage, that instant, hey, I'm still here, keep hitting me. Avatar, transforming to a Colossus, allowing you to increase damage, that's actually awesome, because that allows you to hit harder and increase your aggro. Me personally, I would go with Ultimatum because of that Shield Slam and the fact that it increases your chances of not spending rage on your other ability. When you hit level 60, Berserker Rage is a good one, and being able to use Taunt without a cooldown, that is actually an awesome thing to have, because that speeds up your ability to keep the aggro. Heroic Leap is a good opening attack in a party, but it's basically a one-time jump and here I am type idea. Crackling Thunder, increasing the radius of Thunderclap by 100%, so it basically doubles the distance that your Thunderclap affects. So if your party is within range and you use that, you can basically pull any aggro back to you that's pulled off of you. So out of all three of these, I would go with Crackling Thunder, personally. But once again, this is all personal preference. Level 75. Indomitable would be the premium choice because of the fact that your health is increased and the maximum effect of your Ignore Pain is increased by 25%. Therefore, you don't take that damage there. Ignoring up to 75% more damage based on missing health is good, except for the healer's going to be keeping you healed, so you shouldn't be having that much missing health, so you won't really get that damage reduction to be worth having this ability. Best served cold. Revenge generates 2 additional rage for each target that it hits. You're not guaranteed that it's going to hit that many targets, so out of those 3, Indomitable would be your most optimal choice. At level 90, Demoralizing Shout is a good one to use for single target. And once again, it increases the damage to the affected targets, but it's not always guaranteed to affect all the targets you need it to. Into the fray, you gain 3% haste for each enemy within 10 yards, up to 5 enemies. That's great when you have a mob that you're fighting and trying to keep aggro on. Ignore Pain reduces the rage cost of your next Focus Rage by 35%. Focus Rage reduces the rage cost of your next Ignore Pain by 35%. That is good if you use both those abilities in your rotation, because it'll reduce the cost of each of those by that 35%. So out of these 3, I would have to say Into the Fray or Booming Voice would be good options. Vengeance as well. This one is a personal preference one, depending on which rotation you like to use. So you could actually use any one of these 3. Me personally, increasing the haste would probably be a good one. But Vengeance for me might be a better choice. And once you hit level 100, you hit the final talents, as you can see here. So, Anger Management, every 10 rage you spend reduces remaining cooldown on Battle Cry, Last Stand, and Shield Wall. That's a lot of cooldown reductions. Heavy Repercussion, Shield Slam extends the duration of Shield Block, which is actually really good. Shield Block increasing damage of Shield Slam is really good. Ravager, throw a whirl weapon at the target location, inflicting damage. That's good. Increasing your parry chance by 30%. That's really good. So from a tanking stance, I would go between Heavy Repercussions and Ravager. But since Shield Slam is a good ability, and if we go back up to Ultimatum, where Shield Slam affects Focus Rage and makes it cost no rage, you go back down here, it increases your shield block, which is really good. I would go with Heavy Repercussions personally. But if you want to put out that damage and raise your parry chance for 12 seconds, then Ravager would be your choice to go with there. Anger Management, it's a good one because you're spending a lot of rage being a warrior tank, but it's a reduction by 1 second. And I'd rather have the damage blocked earlier than having to hope that that 1 second throws in help. But once again, personal preference. And so that covers the talents. And we've covered which stats you want to look out for as warrior tank. And also the racial abilities that also affect it. And that pretty much covers the build portion. And that pretty much concludes this video. If people would like to see rotations included in the build guides, please just leave that recommendation, and the next video I will include that as well. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was very informational, and would love to hear some feedback. So, if you do like the video, please click like and share. And I will see you guys in the next video. So long.